Guys, we are back. Try number 2 actually seemed to work out as well. We are in the Mineski Pro Gaming League, a 2-game series between Gse7en and Awake. It is the first game of the 2-game series as well. My name is Coacher and I am hopefully at least joined by Whiplash.
Don't worry, man, I'm here. I didn't go anywhere, got my coffee, so I'm all good. So yeah, Awake, they came back pretty darn hard, and well, I guess they didn't come back, but the other team came back in our first best of 2 series, but Awake still had a solid showing. We'll have to see how they do against Gse7en, which is the team that we'll be playing in our remainder best of 2 series that we have today. So we have 2 series left, 2 best of 2s, 4 games total. And already looking at the draft, not too much has really happened. Just the first 3 bands so far. We have Lycan as well as the Shadow Shaman band out by Awake. And so far Gse7en, it looks like they were watching some of Awake's previous matches and they got rid of that really pesky Earthshaker, and I don't blame them whatsoever for that ban.
Actually, looks like my Dota has completely frozen. Because
oh no.
I got timed out, oh man.
No.
The troubles start. I was like, I only see the Lycan ban, what's going on? I have no idea what you're talking about. And then I was like, oh, the timer isn't moving, oh crap. But
gotcha.
Connecting back into it, I guess I need to take a couple days off, get my computer into warranty before it actually breaks and warranty ends, and I'll just be broke without a PC altogether.
That would be kind of unfortunate. So yeah, beyond that though, just so the viewers out there know, we have Razor as well as Dazzle picked up by Gse7en. Also the Doom from Awake, as far as these picks are concerned. A little odd to see Dazzle picked so early in the draft, and there's, I guess, a lot of other alternative powerful heroes out there. Also, I do want to note that Gse7en, they did ban out the Tinker as their second ban, and we'll go ahead and have to wait and see what Awake plans on grabbing for their second pickup, but any ideas why Gse7en picked up such an early Dazzle with this Razor? The Razor makes sense, but the Dazzle, it puts me off a little bit. I'm not 100% sure why they decided to do that.
Yeah, maybe they have something like a Shadow Shaman also in mind. It is a pretty strong duo, just disrupt into the Shadow Wave damage, which bounces off the illusions as well. I did see actually that duo with a Slark being the center of the tri-lane, going aggressive, it's just completely wrecking face. Maybe they do have something like that in mind. And of course Dazzle is really good against Doombreaker, just Shadow Wave to heal, Shallow Grave to keep them up for even longer. And might they be going for just a minus armor strat? I mean, Razor is there with the Eye of the Storm. They do have the Weave from the Dazzle. Maybe pick up something like a Vengeful Spirit now as well. Maybe even something crazy like an Alchemist Mead on top of that. I mean, I would love to see it, especially if there would be a Slardar as well, but that's just wishful thinking.
Slardar Dazzle is kind of like the 2 heroes you think of when you hear like a negative armor strategy, heroes that really just completely wipe armor off the enemy heroes. It's generally the Dazzle Slardar combo. We could also maybe see something like an offlane Bristleback. In the tank-heavy meta, it's certainly a hero that I would love to see. Another hero I really wish was kind of picked up a little bit more, similar to the Centaur, but we're seeing Centaur actually banned out by Gse7en. And from Awake, it looks like they really do not like this Ember Spirit, as he was banned out in, I believe, both of the previous games they played, and now they want to remove him from this match as well. Holy crap, though! We got a Meepo, ladies and gentlemen. We got a Meepo.
Well, it does synergize with the Dazzle because you will have the maximum amount of targets around a hero to just bounce off the Shadow Wave, extra damage. And actually it bounces off 5 heroes, I do believe, at the last level. So 5 Meepos, 700 burst damage physical from the Dazzle. Not too shabby.
I like it. I'm liking it. I'm not sure that they should have picked it up this early. It does give Awake an ample amount of time to try to figure out some solutions for the hero, but I think that in a lot of the recent competitive games that Meepo's been played in, the players have just done a really good job at utilizing the hero and make it so he doesn't seem to have a lot of weaknesses so much anymore these days. And he did get a good amount of buffs, I suppose, as well over I guess a good amount of patches over the last maybe year or so. So he's slowly moved his way into competitive play. We're seeing him a little bit more often and more often as time goes on. But I'm a huge fan of Meepo. The skill cap on this hero is insanely high, and I guess theoretically if you got a player that can play him extremely well, he could be, considered a little bit overpowered. But the old Gse7en are just throwing out the rulebook. They got the Tuskar as well.
Man, I love Gse7en.
Yeah.
Gse7en
like
best
these
team in
guys.
the world now, suddenly.
They're awesome, man. But what the heck is their strategy, man? What do they plan on doing here, Couchor?
Well, it might be just a Dazzle Meepo Tusk tri-lane, to be honest. Tusk just to start the initiation with, get the ice shards to block people in. Meepo easy poofs as the heroes try to run out of the shards, and well, they just can't outrun the poof. And well, overall, I mean, Tusk can make some use of minus armor as well overall, of course, with that Walrus punch of his. And I mean, I have no idea. Is it just to defend the Meepo if need be? Just somebody gets doomed, you just snowball him in and buy some time, something like that, maybe.
Yeah, that's actually possible. You make a snowball and you pop in a low health Meepo, give Dazzle a little bit of extra wiggle room to heal him up. It, in theory, is I think a really good strategy.
Oh, and actually, yeah, you can also snowball close, multiple targets, and then the Dazzle Shadow Wave comes out and does the damage.
Oh, yeah. This is starting to sound like an extremely potent strategy from Gse7en. That being said, however, Awake, they've picked up the Faceless Void Skywrath combination that worked so well against them last game they played. They also have the Doom and the Viper, so just overall they have we're looking at a traditionally very strong lineup, very powerful in the earlier stages. Get that Chrono up, use that Skywrath Ultimate, Viper and Doom as soon as they hit level 6 are a huge threat. Viper even so before that. So they do have a lot of team fight, but still, just looking at Gse7en's lineup, I am really excited to see how they really handle these engagements, and I guess if they're able to really, work up to the hype of the heroes they got.
Yeah, to be honest, I really favor Faceless Void against Meepo, because you catch one Meepo, that's all you need. You need to kill that one Meepo, and Meepo can't really even come in to help with the poofs, because then all of them will be caught. So
Yep.
They have to be a little bit wary of that. And of course, Gse7en at the moment, one thing they heavily lack is just proper stuns. I mean, yes, they have the Tusk Snowball and the Meepo Surfbind to just net everybody up. Other than that, though, might become a little bit just iffy to chase people down or lock them down. But if Meepo is just on top of his game, I guess the Earthbinds are all you really need.
Yeah, and it looks like the last ban from Awake was the Tidehunter, which I think would have been the perfect hero to line out, to finish up Gse7en's lineup. It would have given them that guaranteed stun, a lot more teamfight presence, just a tanky guy in the front lines, a little bit more negative armor, and also a good way to kind of reduce the damage a lot of these right clickers, as Doom Viper and Faceless Void are all heavy right clickers. But they go with the Venomancer, so not getting any additional stuns, but they are bringing a lot of slow to the table, as well as a good amount of AoE damage and a little bit of pushing power.
So how do you think they're gonna lane this? Is it gonna be like Razor against Viper mid, maybe safe lane Meepo against either the Doombringer or the Faceless Void, and just aggressive tri-lane, Veno, Tusk, Dazzle?
It's possible. There's like, I don't know, man. I'm looking at this lineup and I'm saying to myself, I don't know if I can actually accurately predict this. It does seem like the Meepo would go to the safe lane. We'll see Razor mid with the support helping him out. I think we could see either the Tusk or Venomancer in that off lane. Neither of them would surprise me too much. Who knows, maybe they'll just do something crazy like an offensive tri-lane and surprise us all. But that being said, I am a little bit more concerned about Awake's last pick. They do need to get a support. Shadow Shaman's still in the pool. Oh, never mind, excuse me. He was banned out quite early, actually. Thinking about other heroes, the Ancient Apparition actually is a good hero that can get picked up. That would work really well against Dazzle. Oh, he is? Jesus. Okay. I don't know how I missed that one, but he's out of the pool. They get the Enchantress, though, so a little bit of healing on their end.
To me, though, it feels a little bit awkward as far as the pick goes. I mean, Venomancer does offer a pretty nice amount of push from Gse7en, of course, already. And the Enchantress, I mean, they themselves now actually lack lockdown. Yes, they have the Chronosphere, but it is an ultimate after all. And apart from that, they just have a couple of slows, and that's about it.
Yeah, I mean, looking at Awake's lineup, they have a lot of damage. They just straight up ridiculous DPS. That's something that Gse7en, they're a little bit more damage over the time. They require a lot more heroes getting the proper setup to make things work. But if they can coordinate everything properly, I do look at their lineup and say, well, I mean, how do you fight into that if they just kind of come running at you and get everything, you know, off perfectly? That's the concern of mine, I suppose, for Awake. But they are already heading down to the bottom lane, so we'll hold off the introductions for a second just to see if there's any sort of early game shenanigans. Looks like the Faceless Void as well as the Skywrath are playing it pretty darn safe. They're backing up, and I think we will not be seeing any early kills up from Gse7en.
Yeah, mate. If they had just been able to spot a target, Tusk, get the snowball, gather everybody in, that snowball would have been extremely fast actually. They are still hanging around for a little while, and one thing is that Kalai, him on the Tusk, he's already gone for boots of speed, and of course the snowball, it does take your initial movement speed into consideration. So they just want to set up kills early on, they want to be the aggressors, and with their lineup it just makes sense as well, because you don't want to just go up against a late game Faceless Void at all.
No, Awake's lineup has late game kind of stamped all over it. I guess Gse7en have a okay lineup late game as well. They definitely have a lot of heroes that can perform well there. But when you get a very farmed Doom, you get a farmed Faceless Void, Viper's got a few items. Even Enchantress can become very scary later on if you get a few DPS items on her, like a Mask of Madness or a Scepter. Just, you know, some, you know, kind of crazy items after she does a little bit of farming. But for the time being, it looks like we will be seeing an offensive tri-lane. This may actually, okay, it's not, it's a carry meepo. And the Tuskar is supporting, kind of like you figured, with the Dazzle. Up in the top lane, we will see the Razor against the Doom, so that will be a pretty favorable lane, I suppose, for the Razor. But Doom can still get a little bit of farm in. And Enchantress has actually just gone into the enemy jungle. And we may see an early gank onto the mid Venomancer, so it's basically poison versus poison at the mid lane. With two heroes, they're smoked up, rotating towards the mid lane, and if the Viper oversteps his boundaries, then he could be in a lot of trouble. I have a feeling that Gse7en are kind of anticipating this Enchantress coming in early on and making some, you know, early action happen, but instead she's gone to the top lane. They're pinging on this Razor in a 2v1 with two big creeps. Well, I think they may actually have enough DPS to make things happen, but no. Razor, he goes ahead, he does 2 points in the static link, so that's basically all of Doom's damage already stolen from him, but still isn't enough with the body blocks. Uses the plasma field, but I think this is still going to be a first blood. Nice rotation coming in from the Enchantress, and it was just overall well executed.
Yeah, if the Razor had gotten one right click onto Enchantress, actually she would have fallen down as well with all the static link damage stolen from the Doombringer, but really well done still in the creeps. Just landing both of those abilities was crucial in just getting the kill. The Thunderclap, getting the slow from that, from the Hellbear Smasher. So really well done from them. Gse7en's own rotation to the mid lane accomplished absolutely nothing, and now, well, at least Kenji on the meepo, he's level 3, so has the second meepo for himself already. And will we see a snowball coming out?
Oh, there's the snowball. It's coming in very fast. They're going right in on this Void. They used the heal from Dazzle, but ooh, it looks like the Ice Shards really missed the mark there. Still, the meepos, can they make something happen? It's a poof into absolutely nothing. And I guess, well, nothing was lost on either end. I suppose the Faceless Void low on health, but he still has 3 tangos. Actually, the meepos, look at how aggressive they are, man. They are not afraid. They get right up into the faces of their enemies.
Yeah, definitely not at the moment. Of course, Tusk, well, he healing salved himself up, I guess, getting some mana with a Clarity. They do have a Ring of Basilisk as well, so that's always going to be nice. Meepo can go for the Vladimir's offering later on if he really wants to. I know that Notel, when he used to play a lot of Meepo just on stream, he experimented a lot with the Vlads as well. It potentially increases your damage so much because so many Meepos get extra damage, but top lane we might see another go.
Oh, they gotta slow him first. He's a little bit too close to the tower, so doesn't look like that enchant will be used. But at the very least, they are somewhat zoning out this Razor. He does have 10 last hits compared to the 11 of Doom, so the first blood did actually help him a decent amount there. But oh, looks like we're going to have another snowball in the bottom lane. It's coming in, and it will crash into the Void. They get the net on as well. A little bit of healing, now stuck in the Ice Shards. 5 seconds left on the time walk. It's not enough time. The Meepos, they get the kill. It's now 1-1. Gse7en striking back, and like you said, Coucho, this is a lineup that needs to be very aggressive, and that's essentially what this bottom lane is all about, and they're making it work.
Yeah, it's going decently enough. Getting the kill is definitely important, and his time walk distance actually isn't even bigger than Tusk's snowball, so if they can bait out the time walk before the snowball, it's almost a guaranteed kill for them. And just look at the radius of the goddamn snowball. And they're gonna get the tier 1 as well, 4.5 minutes in. It's actually pretty huge.
Yeah, that's a very nice early boon for Gse7, especially against with these heroes like the Enchantress. I'm sure. Well, excuse me, not the Enchantress. The Tuskar is kind of doing a lot of supporting. The Dazzle will be happy with that gold. I'm looking at this Void, and I'm actually wondering if he should put a few more points into Time Walk early on. I know a lot of Voids nowadays will max out Time Walk and backtrack with just 1 point into Time Walk, but I mean, when you're up against such an aggressive lineup, you may need that little bit of extra survivability from Time Lock and maybe even the backtrack and just kind of forego those extra points into Time Lock.
Yeah, it's a tough decision for him at the moment because the rest of his lineup can't really be too aggressive either. Skyrock Mage definitely wants to just hit that level 6, although at the moment just barely above 2.5. So struggling there, but the Enchantress wants to come in mid lane. Of course, Linger on the Dazzle is hanging around as well. Kenji makes his way there with 1 meepo, and oh, they might actually run into the Enchantress here.
No, well, they find the creep. Enchantress, though, just sprinking away with the boots of speed. She has 360 movement speed, so it looks like she won't really have too many concerns getting away from there. Also, the double damage rune at the top part of the river if somebody finds it, and it looks like the three-man gank squad. They're looking for a kill. But the Satar Tormentor is nearby, kind of just showing what's up. 1 meepo, by the way, is still in the bottom lane, getting a little bit of farm, and just, you know, keeping this lane somewhat pushed out, keeping this Faceless Void honest, but he will hit level 6 eventually.
Yeah, it's just a matter of time. 1 meepo definitely not a huge threat, and most of them are grouped up top, but mid lane they get the slow onto Leo. Silence is there as well, Venomancer, nowhere to run. And well, they didn't even need the Viper Strike to set up the kill. Venomancer, yes, he's pretty damn annoying with the Plague Wards, but quite easy to actually get him down as well. Ice Shard, but only no. Solidity, man. Gets out.
Yeah, he's A-okay. But still, Doom up to 20 last hits. I suppose that's not terrible at 6.5 minutes into the match, but this tier 1 tower does not look like it will be standing for much longer. We do have the Skywrath Mage coming in as well. Does not get hit by the Ice Shards. They're just being used to kind of zone out the enemy heroes at this point. And I think Gse7, they've just secured themselves a second tier 1 tower. Fortifications on cooldown as well for another 2.5 minutes essentially. Anyway, so I'm wondering if Gse7, they just try, I guess, rotate towards the mid lane and try to get another tier 1 tower and press this early advantage while they have it.
Yeah, they might as well, although the Viper mid lane, he's getting a huge amount of farm. 49 and 5, 50 and 5 now even. Next highest 31 and 5, so farm wise, BSR just having a blast in the mid lane. Of course, they got 1 kill on Venomancer as well, helping out even more. So, can Gse7 set it up? They have the snowball coming in. And BSR, not the tank.
Will they get it? Ooh, Ice Shards actually lock him in place. They're going to go ahead and use the snowball, going very fast towards the Viper. They get it. There's a TP reaction as well. Could we see some ultimates come in? Faceless Void. There's the Chrono. They'll get the kill on Dazzle. Can they get the Meepos, though? They're still high in health. Trying to switch to the Tuskar. He's netted in place as well. Enchantress, is enough damage? Yes, just barely enough. 1 right click, and maybe they'll even get the Meepo as well, down to 100 health. But the lowest health Meepo looks to be A-okay. And backs away for the time being, but still... they get the Viper. It's a Viper for, I guess, support Tusk trade. And I guess I'd be okay with that.
Yeah, Enchantress just barely making it away. He was out of mana for the Nature's Attendance, but had the magic one popped it, Nature's Attendance. He was just like 1 right click away from dying, but the heal came through to him. So, 4-2, although Gse7, they have taken 3 towers, so economically they are, or at least they should be ahead. Looking at the graphs as well, yes, it's about 3k in gold. XP though, almost 2000 in a week's favor, because Gse7, well, they've been grouping up a hell of a lot to go for those pushes.
Yeah, that's true. They've let the Faceless Void essentially just kind of farm the bottom lane when the Meepos, as well as the Tuskar and Dazzle left the lane. So, I mean, he's just going to find farm at the end of the day. I'm not sure if I agree with that. I wish they would prevent this Faceless Void from getting a good amount of farm. Because as we saw last game, you give the Void a little bit of room, and all of a sudden he's got a good amount of items, and he starts just chronoing everywhere. So I'm a little bit afraid of that. The Meepo as well. He's level 7 right now. Hasn't really gained a significant level advantage yet. I suppose when he gets his next point into Divided We Stand, he'll really start to take advantage of that. I guess for the time being, Gse7en, they're slowing down a little bit on the team fight shenanigans.
Yeah, they don't really want to go into a fight like they did last time around and actually have it turned upon them, especially now that the mech is finished on BSR as well. So the burst damage, actually, they need that one extra Meepo, I think, to just get that extra poof going. Because the burst isn't the strongest. Maybe now that Razor has joined them with his own mech finished, having the plasma field as well. And the haste on Leo, can they catch anyone with it? I think he's just too far away from anybody else.
Another Ice Shards is thrown out. Doesn't really accomplish too much. Razor, using his plasma field, scaring away the Viper a little bit. Yeah, Gse7en, they're full-on aggressive once again. They want to get the tier 2 tower, I suppose, this time around. The question is, can Awake actually defend this, or are they just going to give up the tower? It feels like that may be a mistake. Faceless Void, he's picked up a TP scroll. He does have his chrono off the cooldown, so that will be used, I suppose, if needed. But Meepo, one of them teleports to the bottom lane, so I suppose it's just a lot of pressure put on, and we don't really see anything else come from it.
Actually, one thing I don't think we have touched is that if they snowball in all together, they can actually just get Chronosphere, all of them at the same time. So maybe they should have just target banned the Faceless Void, since after all it was the 4th pick for Awake, if I'm not mistaken. So second phase maybe would have been worth it banning it out, especially if you were going for a Meepo. I mean, it felt like they knew they're going for it, but the concussive shot gets the slow, the chrono.
Oh, there's the chrono as well. 3-man chrono actually, but the heal keeping Venomancer alive. Mech as well. They did almost no damage to them, and now everyone into Snowball going right after the Faceless Void. There's the ultimate from the Venomancer. 1 kill down on the Void. They keep everybody alive. Dazzle, he is definitely doing work in this, and they end up getting a kill on the Enchantress as well, so it's a double kill for Los Meeples Hermanos. They're going after the Viper as well. Can you get that regen rune now? It's not going to matter too much. Snowball once again into the face, and that's a dead Viper. 3-0. Gse7en looking quite strong.
Yeah, and I mean, just imagine how differently it could have gone if the Scar of Mage had been level 6, had that Mystic Flare to actually get some damage there as well. And Doom, he did not have enough mana, or was the Doom even evolved there? Yeah, he most certainly was, so just lacked the mana for his ultimate, spamming out that chain lightning of his. So some mistakes from Awake, and Faceless Void, he was literally the only one to damage anybody in the chrono almost.
I know, just good positioning. The mech and the Dazzle heal, I think, really helped out so much in the fight. Venomancer, he also has an Ogre Club, so that's actually, I guess, a Venomancer that has a lot more health than you'd expect, and that is something I've done myself, where I pick Faceless Void, I get a good chrono, I go after the Venomancer, and, well, it's kind of a core Veno, and he has a lot more health than I expect, and just simply doesn't really lose a lot of health. So maybe that's what happened to this Faceless Void. That being said, he had a lot of health keeping them alive, and the tier 2 tower looks like it will fall. Gse7en looking pretty darn solid. It is 4-5, but, I mean, the map controls completely in the Dire's favor.
Yeah, and Meepo is level 11 by now as well, 2 levels above everybody else. They smoke up as well, but I do believe this observer actually scouted it out here. Well, whether it did or not, they actually may go for Roche this. They get a double damage rune as well onto Leo, who bottles it up, so Roche is the agenda for them.
Yeah, indeed it is. So, it should fall pretty darn easily with the Meepos. You know, especially all of the damage over the time. It's starting to look like World of Warcraft with all of the dots onto Roshan. It's got like 2 poison stings, 3 Geo strikes, and they should make pretty short work of Roshan. There's not much, if anything, that Awake can do to really punish this. They're just not in position. Even if they had the chrono at this point, I don't think it would really matter. The Meepos get the Aegis, one of the best Aegis carriers in the game. And also, in addition to that, the Agnum Scepter was finished up by Meepos, so I assume he'll go for a Blink Dagger next. And yeah, Gse7en, man, they're looking pretty strong.
They are indeed. I mean, just teamfight wise, yes, there's a chrono, but they need the Mystic Flare. Viper with the Viper Strike, of course, can help out as well. But last time around, they also didn't catch the Razor. The static link came out onto the Faceless Void, so he's already little damage without the time locks was mitigated even more. Ice Shards bottom lane just to farm out the creeps, and they want to go about this methodically, just get the outer towers before actually even trying to think about the racks or tier 3s. And of course, if they get this tower, rotate to the tier 2 top as well, get that. By that time, probably Meepo will have his Blink Dagger as well. And with the Blink Dagger, it should be enough to just get the initiation and go high ground.
Absolutely. I also want to point out the experience graph is basically reset at 0 at this point. Gse7en have just been getting, better trades overall in these fights. They're up to about a 4k gold advantage, which will increase by a little bit more thanks to that tier 2 tower falling. We don't even see Wake try to defend this. I think they've just decided to concede their tier 2 towers, and, well, Gse7en is giving no time whatsoever for Awake to do anything. They have to defend. There's the Chrono ready. We have a Doom, the Mystic Flare as well. The Meepos, they want to get in a good position. One slowed down by the Enchant, but well, they go back and they say, you know what, it's fine. We have the Aegis. As long as we get in a good position, we'll be okay. Faceless Void, though, he's getting all the damage still. And look at that Venomancer. They're putting everything down on him. He will fall, but here comes a huge snowball onto the Enchantress. They decide to switch their targets to the Doom. He is down as well as the Faceless Void. A little bit of Ice Shards doing some zoning action, but the tier 3 tower, that's the big main target here. We still have the Aegis on the Meepos as well, so they're just going for the Rex. And I think, I think they're just going to get it. 15 minutes in, and the tier 3 is going to fall at the bottom lane.
Yeah, not only that, they still have the Aegis on Meepo as well. One Meepo was dropping low, but he nicely microed it out of the harm's way. And man, 15 to 16 minutes in, losing your Rex, there's so much momentum suddenly going for Gse7en. Aghanim Scepter finished on Leo as well. Yes, he was doomed this fight, couldn't get any spells off at all. But there needs to be one sacrificial lamp, there's no way around it. One hero will get doomed and disabled, but if the other 4 just go havoc, completely wreck the team fight, then they don't really care that one hero dies. And that's the Blink Dagger for Meepo now as well, plus another 1.3k already as well.
Yeah, and this Dazzle isn't even level 6. We don't have any Weave online whatsoever from Gse7en, and they still took the tier 3, but what do you do at this point if you're Awake when you're down a Rax against a Meepo, a very aggressive, push-heavy lineup that definitely have a significant gold advantage at this point? It's down to 7,500, pretty darn early into the game. I guess if you're Awake, what are you thinking? What do you need to do to get back into this game?
Well, probably the best idea would to just try to look for pickoffs, maybe even use a Chrono for just a solo kill, if really necessary. Although their lineup isn't really good at split pushing or just counter pushing even, Awake's that is. And Gse7en looks like they don't want to give any space at all to just Awake to find those pickoffs, because they're going 5-man. And one thing I do like is that the Doombringer picks up a pipe for themselves now, so will help out the entire team to maybe survive. But we have a snowball.
The snowball. Will it actually connect? It's so close, just barely off the mark. And oh, what is that? We saw, it looks like the Skywrath, he got a little trigger happy and wasted his Mystic Flare. That'll be off for a minute. Now they get the net onto Doombringer. He is damn tanky, especially with that fight, but I mean, against that many Meepos, against that kind of firepower, it simply isn't enough. They'll lose the tier 2 tower. There's the Weave from the Dazzle. It looks like the tier 3 tower and the top barracks will be the next target for Gse7en. Without the Doom for another 30 seconds, he doesn't have buyback. That's no Doom available. Enchantress is on the other side of the map. She needs to teleport home. They also get the Skywrath as well. Meepo just, jumping in crazily. There's her Chrono. They're going to try to take down the Venomancer, but he has an Aghanim Scepter. He is A-OK. Gets off his ultimate as well, so even if he dies, who cares? There's a Snowball. And Walrus Punch onto the dead Enchantress. Stealing a lot of damage from the Viper as well. The GG is called. And man, what a very aggressive and exciting lineup from Gse7en. They certainly didn't disappoint at all, and Awake simply didn't have the answers for what Gse7en threw at them.
Oh yeah, and chat, Ricotta Chiri, he asked, is that Faceless Void or paper? Just melts everything, completely blown up. I mean, really well just thought out lineup, completely different than what we usually see. But Gse7en, they just went for the greedy style, picking up individually strong heroes, but couldn't just put them together. And Skywrath Mage, of course, using that Mystic Flare in a situation like that, not hitting anybody, was kind of the nail in the coffin.
Yeah, it was. I feel like it was just like a panic scare. It's like, oh, they're all coming at me. Maybe I can get somebody with my ultimate afterward or something. I'm going to die anyway. But yeah, at the end of the day, G7 just played a very well executed game, a very refreshing lineup. It was loads of fun to watch. I wasn't expecting a Venomancer mid or like an aggressive Meepo tri-lane, but hell, Kenji played a really solid Meepo. Also, Kalat, we played a really good Tuskar, so overall very happy with the Gse7's performance, and I suppose we'll see if they can repeat their success in game number 2.
Indeed we will, and that is where we'll be heading, guys, now. So stay tuned, don't go anywhere, and if you enjoyed us, be sure to follow us on Twitch as well as our social media. You can find all the links below the streams. And for the casters, it is @Coucher for me on Twitter, as well as you can find me on Facebook on Coucher, and for my co-caster, @Whiplash on Twitter and esports Whiplash on Facebook.